Jonathan Sacerdoti is a columnist at The Spectator. He went to the march to gain an understanding of what motivated people to attend it.
I spoke to as many people as I could while I was there, asking exactly that question. And I must say, I spoke to a wide variety of people. So I spoke to an Iranian-born British man who was there, who told me that he thought that there were warnings from his experience in Iran that needed to be heard here in the UK. I spoke to a man who identifies as an ex-Muslim. He said that he is worried about the rise of extremist Islam in the UK. I spoke to all sorts of other people in the crowd, and I think, overriding sense was one of pride in British culture, but also that British culture that many people there were proud of was slipping. There was a sense that there should be a re-strengthening of the Christian bedrock of British culture, whether religiously or culturally, that there should be a rejection of unassimilated immigration into the UK, and that many of these people's concerns were being ignored, overlooked, or much worse, demonized. Pretty much everybody I spoke to was at pains to point out that they were not nasty people, they were not trying to be racist, they were simply people who were proud of their sense of Britishness that they felt was being eroded.
And just on that, because you make the point, that these are people who've been told their views were racist, bigoted or ignorant. Now they stood among thousands who were unafraid to speak freely. What they were saying, was it racist, bigoted or ignorant?
That's obviously a very important question, and I'll say this, that there were a huge number of speakers and acts, music acts on that stage, and they ranged across, I would say, a spectrum. So some of them made me a little bit uncomfortable. There was a New Zealand preacher I mentioned in my piece in The Spectator, who I felt went a bit too far in his desire to re-establish the Christian nature of British society, and he was suggesting things like banning mosques and halal food and non-Christian religions in various forms. Now, that made me uncomfortable as a Jewish person, but also generally as a Briton. But on the other hand, there were people who I found that I could agree with wholeheartedly. And because it was billed as a free speech festival, I think it's inevitable that there will be people there that everybody disagreed with some of what they said. That's the nature of free speech.
Well, I guess it's where you draw the line, isn't it? Because if somebody says something racist, you don't agree with it, but should they be allowed to say it?
Well, in my opinion, yes, that's the basic answer to that, because that's the nature of free speech. But my opinion's not what matters here. I think the point here is that this was not, in my experience, what I experienced was not a racist rally. And I don't think any of the speeches I heard that I can remember were racist, and I think I would remember that. I think there was a sense of anger at times, and sometimes it was expressed in a way that I didn't find I was comfortable with. But specifically, I don't think that the vast majority of words I heard spoken there were about people's race or an arbitrary discrimination against people based on their race or culture. It was to do with the effect of different cultures, of different peoples from different cultures being within the UK, and as far as I understood the message to be, not assimilating sufficiently, not blending in sufficiently, not learning enough from British culture.
Well, that was Jonathan Sacerdoti.